Hello and welcome to the very first episode of the Role Models podcast, a joint venture between Speedcafe and Authentic Collectables. My name is Andrew van Leeuwen and I'm the editorial director at Speedcafe, and I'm joined by Will Hall here. He is the owner of Authentic Collectables. Now, Will and I have been friends for longer than I think either of us would really like to admit, and we're among the rather small group of people who work in the Supercars paddock and live here in sunny Perth. So, what is Role Models? Role Models will be a monthly podcast and vodcast where we'll chat about the latest motorsport news and look at some of the cool products that Authentic Collectables has in the pipeline. I'm a very amateur collector. I do most of my shopping in Will's warehouse when he's not looking, but we know there are some amazing collections out there and we want to explore those. Will, welcome to episode 1. Firstly, how exciting is this? We're finally doing a thing we've been talking about for about 1,000 years.
Finally.
Yes.
I mean, 1,000 years maybe dates us a little bit longer than I'd like to admit to, but yeah, definitely this has been something that we've, let's say we've had it in the pipeline for a while.
Yes, we have.
And I mean, we've been doing plenty of this over the years, but we wanted to sort of do it
planning
more.
Meetings.
Yeah,
they're
planning meetings.
They're the planning
well, let's
meetings.
not have the planning meetings on camera,
All right, okay.
as I think this is probably going to turn out to. But anyway, doesn't matter.
Yes,
that's very exciting.
That's what a pilot episode's for. So,
that's exactly
a little
right.
bit of housekeeping before we get started. If you're watching us on YouTube, there will be an Authentic Collectables code word on the screen at some point in this episode. Post the code word down in the comments as creatively as you can. The most creative response, as judged by us, will score a $200 Authentic Collectables voucher. So with that bit of housekeeping out of the way, let's crack into some news. And boy, William, I do hope that you ordered a few more Brodie Kostecki title-winning Erebus Camaros, because it looks like there's a bit of significance to that car now, because as we sit here, I don't think he's going to be on the grid this year. He is certainly sitting out the Bathurst 500. We know that much.
We definitely know that. There's suggestions that he might be back after that.
Yep. With which
That's
team?
at least what the statement said.
Well, yes. Sorry. Yeah, of course.
So, but wow. Well, it must be the end of January. We must be nearly ready for the season. We've got cars on track. We've got crazy news happening that we never expected.
Yeah, this is crazy on a level that we don't
normally
see. Like, this is actually like, I don't know. This has been bubbling along for a long time, since late last year, and it's one of those things where it kind of comes to you and you hear it and you think, that's not going to happen.
Is it a thing?
They're going to sort that out. There's no way they're going to actually get to the point where they can't solve these problems and come to a resolution that keeps the reigning champion in the car that just took him, with the team that just took him to the championship. It's almost unbelievable that it would happen. It's almost unbelievable that it is happening. It's absolutely unbelievable. It
certainly looks like it's happening.
Well, it's at least happening for Bathurst. As we sit here, that's what the statement says. It's unbelievable how this thing is being managed by a number of the parties involved in it. And I mean that in a bad way. It's knowing what, someone like myself as a journalist knows, and then you see what tries to get presented to the public and you think, wow, that's an interesting take on exactly what's happening. I'll tell you that right now.
It is. And I mean, it's a bit of a concern, really, for the industry, as let alone the teams involved, just from an industry standpoint. Yeah. I'm not entirely sure this is a brilliant look.
It's not. And the way it's being handled isn't making it look any better than it actually is. Instead of just being, it's a good bit of preseason drama. Come out and say, okay, this guy, this relationship with the team has broken down. The reigning champion's not going to be there. What happens next? Create some drama out of it. Trying to present it as something that it's not that's what to me is a bad look. And in the fullness of time, that will come out. What has actually happened?
Absolutely, yeah.
And
having, and this will date the podcast slightly, but with the NASCAR Netflix show coming out yesterday, if there's one thing we could learn from that show and Drive to Survive and all of these sort of sports docos that are starting to come out, you need some drama.
You do need some drama.
We need some drama in the sport, and everyone's very happy, nice, everyone's friends.
This is something I've always said, like, to anyone who sits back and goes, the parody stuff last year was damaging to the sport. Like, I can show you some website figures.
Yes
that
and no.
Yeah, I mean, yes. Obviously, it can't always be like that. But these things,
as a model car maker, I can tell you, it probably wasn't great.
Depends what model cars you make. Actually, I think it actually probably worked out all right for you, apart from having to keep tweaking the aero every 3 rounds.
Yes, well, we'll discuss that.
Like, we do need drama. Right. And this is amazing drama. This is like the most amazing drama. And okay, it's probably taking the whole drama of the thing
maybe a little too far.
But it's not. Yeah, it's there's some dangerous lines being treaded of how things are trying to be treated and how they've been trying to be exposed to the public.
So, some things need to just run organically
and just be what they are.
Yep. Particularly when, as you say, this is not necessarily something that is come out of the blue.
No, it feels like it has maybe to people right on the outside, but this is not a new
This has been brewing for a while.
Yeah.
And, you know, definitely you can't micromanage the story to the level that perhaps it's trying to be.
Yes.
Along some of the lines that it's trying to be run on. And that's just not
how it can
be done.
Yeah, it's interesting, and I feel a little bit.
Let me have another beer, and I'll tell you how I really feel.
My hands are a little bit tired at the moment, but it's certainly been, as we sit here, an interesting couple of days as this story has unfolded.
As you say, I think the story is going to come out. The full story is going to come out in the fullness of time.
Yeah.
As I think a few other stories that are bubbling along in the background will.
Yep.
And everyone will get their say.
Anyway, so Brodie out for round 1. We know that. Will he be back? If he is back, which team will he be with? These are all...
They're all interesting questions, but the one person that we need to really be quite excited for, Todd Hazelwood.
I know.
How good.
That's like, one minute he's lost his drive,
might have a co-drive seat.
Yeah. I mean, picked up a good co-drive seat very quickly. That deal was done. I mean, there was talk, I think, on the Gold Coast that deal was basically done. So he picked that up really quickly, and it's turned into something more for at least round 1. Although I don't know that Todd's agreement is necessarily fully long-term at the moment. I mean, the team might just try to get through the first couple of rounds and then assess.
Well, Brodie's back in the car for the AGP, is he not?
Maybe. It'll kind of be interesting to see how that plays out. But yeah, I mean, this is a huge opportunity for Todd in what we know is race-winning equipment. To go out there and show us that he can do the job if he has got the equipment, because I don't think there's any doubts that, that there were some issues with competitiveness at BRT last year, coupled with the fact that the Mustang for the most part of the season wasn't the car to have. So yeah, this is a massive opportunity for Toddy.
He showed it at times during last year. He was quite competitive in that car. Yeah. So yeah, give him some good gear. Sky's the limit.
We'll see.
For at least one round.
For at least one round. We will see.
And a couple of co-driver rounds, maybe.
Yes, we will see how that one plays out. There's been a bit of testing going on.
As we speak.
Some engine work at Queensland Raceway. I think they've cycled through about 3 engines in that DJR car today. They're literally hauling out motors and putting different motors in. It's,
which when we're this close to kind of trying to get the season underway as well, if they're obviously... The fact that they're doing engine changes, there must be something reasonably different inside the engine as opposed to just a bit of...
plugging a laptop in and running a different map.
A bit of electrical tweaking.
Yeah.
Very interesting this late in the day.
Yeah. But I guess this stuff can happen. What we've seen with the production of race car parts, and engines are slightly different because mostly can't just 3D print it.
No, that's right.
Manufacturers and homologation teams and racing teams are extremely resourceful and fast moving when it comes to increasing the performance of their car.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
So, I think if they do find something as part of this testing that they think is going to
make it worthwhile,
put the engines on the right path for parity, because that's another thing. I mean, we are being told that aero parity.
Is there parity? After this Brodie discussion, I was what's parity anymore?
Well, look,
one's a bit bigger.
We've been told that there's parity in the aero department after the wind tunnel work, which is great. And I think both sides, the chats I've had with people on both sides have been that they are pretty happy on that front. Particularly after Ford was able to get rid of the 9,000 gurneys that were hanging off the thing after the first round of aero testing, could go back and try and build a car that looks like a car, not the Batmobile or whatever it was going to look like. But it's, people are pretty happy on that front, but there was this question mark over engines last year as well, and that still needs to be addressed. We haven't seen transient dyno testing as we thought there might be. There has been torque sensor testing. But hopefully this test this week is what Ford needs.
Well, and I think that DJR car that was running around today, I think that had the torque sensors in it.
Yep.
Too. So from that point of view, as well as the engine changes and the playing around with engines that they were doing today, I think a part of that was the evaluation of the torque sensors too.
Yep. Well, as well as testing, we have got some liveries. Now, this is exciting for you, obviously, because these are cars that you will turn into very small cars.
That's exactly right. Many different sizes of very small cars.
There you go.
WAU, first cab off the rank.
What do you reckon? Like them?
I quite liked it.
Yeah.
The orange, I think with the truck assist on Woody's car, might take a little bit longer to get used to.
Yeah.
But I think the Optus car, I think Chaz's car looks fantastic.
Yeah. One thing that was quite interesting was that the Ford branding has changed on the cars. Did you notice that?
Yes. So more Ford Performance.
Yeah, Ford Performance. So the oval that was on the front of the bonnet is gone, a fairly prominent oval, and then it's just a Mustang horse on the grille, and then Ford Performance on the side of the bonnets, and then there's a small blue oval on the C panel or whatever you call, like the sort of the panel sweeping down to the boot, and that's going to be
Authentic logo is, you mean?
Yeah, exactly. So that's going to be basically across the board with Ford's factory presence in NASCAR, GT racing, all that sort of stuff. So it's a realignment of how they're sort of branding and positioning and wanting the Mustang race cars as a group.
Yeah, makes sense to bundle them all under the Ford Performance banner.
Yeah.
And the one thing about Mustang is it is a global car.
Yeah.
So for Ford, it makes sense to bring them, everyone into line globally. Yeah. Particularly with the GT3 program, the GT4 program, all these other Mustang programs that they've got going on in the world. Yeah. Of which supercars is obviously, at least they say, an important part. Yeah. When parity's right.
Yes. Yes, correct. Yeah. Anyway, there's an interesting one. So if you think you can get away with having last year's Chaz Mostert car in your collection, you can't.
Absolutely not.
You need the new one with the new Ford Performance.
And a few different brands on the car this year, a few new brands. Yep. Bigger presence from Supercheap too, which was interesting. So no. Tick Perfect. For our first liveries.
Yep, absolutely. All right.
Hopefully there'll be a few more in the next couple of weeks.
All right, let's have a bit of a chat about what Authentic Collectables has in the pipeline at the moment, and I'm sure you've got plenty, Will, given that Authentic represents all but one of the teams on the Supercars grid, and what's Triple Eight really done anyway.
Yeah, not a lot.
I'm going to hand this segment over to you. These are your toys. I'm sure I'm not meant to call them toys, but
adult collectibles.
Adult collectibles. That sounds much dodgier than it actually is. Anyway, tell us about your adult collectibles.
When you put it like that,
tell us about your adult collectibles.
You slipped there a little something too with us having all but one team. There was two teams we didn't have last year, so there's one we've picked up, but we haven't told anyone yet. That's all right. We might have just let slip on that. Work that out for yourself.
I break news. That's what I do. It's my job.
Stop it. For goodness sake, stop breaking news. Haven't you done enough damage this week?
A list of people telling me that. Don't worry.
Get out. So what have we announced this month? So again, majority of what we produce here at Authentic is V8 Supercars. Mm-hmm. So with our Gen 3 program, obviously with last year, takes a long time for us to develop the molds, what have you. So we're playing a little bit of catch up on our announcements for Supercars. So this month we announced a lot of our Indigenous liveries from last year. So our Indigenous liveries last year actually had quite a few first time wins or significant wins. So Mark Winterbottom's first win for quite some time, first for Team 18. Yep. Jack LeBrock, MSR, not Jack's first win, but the team's first win. In its
first win without some
current guys.
First win without some funky tyre rules. Helping out a little bit.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And Anton's first win for Mustang Gen 3, technically.
Yep.
Technically, depending on how you count Newcastle.
And again, I won't mention funky tyre.
No. Don't do that. It was a clear cut win. Yep. No one can argue that. Mm-hmm. So as well as that, we had obviously the Erebus Indigenous liveries. Yep. We had the other shell carve with Will Davison, his Indigenous livery. Yep. Scott Pye's Gold Coast retro car, so not an Indigenous livery,
great looking car, that one.
Fantastic looking car. So announced that one as well. So lots of sort of different different liveries from the regular season ones. Obviously, the Walkinshaw Indigenous liveries as well.
Do you think James Golding's going to order one of those Scott Pye retro cars from the Gold Coast? Or did he get a close enough look at it?
I can't imagine it's on the list. Can't imagine it's on the list.
Do you do a post-crash version? I know they do that sometimes.
Yeah, well, yeah, but we certainly don't. Cool, but it could be done. Be done. And then a couple of the Blanchard cars. So again, Indigenous livery for Hazelwood.
Yep.
And then the Red Art car from Adelaide.
Yep.
So something a bit different.
Todd Hazelwood in a red car. Who would have thought it?
Yeah. Yeah. Synergies are aligning.
It was just a vision of things to come.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe. And then we've also both announced and released at the same time some 164ths. So if you're a 164th collector interested in the smaller scales, we've got Coke season cars from last year, and a couple of Team 18 cars as well. So that was kind of everything we've announced in the last month, and sort of we'll hopefully see in the next 6 to 8 months actually in store.
Yeah, great.
So get into your nearest stockist.
There you
Place
go.
your order.
Do
get your order in. Yeah.
Order some cool cars.
So we can get them made for you.
Good idea. Now, as I mentioned at the top of the show, we do want to engage with all the collectors out there, and that's where this segment, Show Us Your Collection, comes into play. Now, each episode we will feature a collection of something motor racing related. It doesn't have to be model cars, but given we're sitting in Will's office, it most certainly can be model cars. So hit us up at either collections@authenticcollectables.com.au or post a pic on your socials using the hashtag #CollectAuthentic. And I'll pick.
You want to repeat that again?
Hashtag collect authentic.
There we go. You got it.
It's just twisted it around the other way just to throw me a little bit. And I will pick my favourite collection for each episode, which will be featured on the show and earn its owner a cool $250 Authentic Collectables voucher. Obviously, this being the first show, entries were a little slim / non-existent. So I've been forced to pick an entry here from a W Hall from Jandakot, Western Australia. As you can see here, he's got quite the collection, although if we take a look at the back, he's not great at displaying them. A lot of them are actually in cardboard boxes and you can't see them at all.
It's where you do your shopping.
Yeah, exactly. It's like a lucky dip. Just grab a box and run and see what's inside it.
Yeah.
Will, do you have any real collectibles here? I mean, obviously this is a thing that you're into. Have you got some stuff that maybe you haven't produced and tried to sell that's in your collection?
So not the lot that's out the back.
No, I can see some pretty cool F1 cars. I'm not sure if they're in shot there, but there's some big F1 cars up there.
There's a few big F1 cars and there's, trophies and a bit of paraphernalia around. So we've got a little bit that isn't necessarily authentic.
There's like a Lego digger thing over there.
Yeah, I might have a Lego addiction, but we'd best not discuss that.
Okay, just in case.
Just in case my wife's watching.
People who are in control who might look in the bank account and wonder why
the financial controller.
Such a successful business owner has so little money.
Yeah, it's a problem.
All right, let's get back to what you and the crew here are rolling out at the moment. What have you and the team released this month that people can actually get their hands on?
Yes, well, again, I'd like to reduce my collection if at all possible. So we've released quite a bit in this last month. We had a container arrive just before Christmas, so we had quite a backlog of product to get through. So the biggest release probably in there was the WAU cars from Adelaide 22. So the retro livery cars that send it off,
right?
Sort off.
Sure.
Whatever the correct English is there. Yep. The Holden. The ZB.
Yes,
so,
gotcha.
So was it the 90, or was it the VN they decided that livery was based on? I can't actually remember. 91 livery.
History isn't my strong suite when it comes to these things.
It was a great livery. Breaking current stories, not old stories.
I'm trying to actually remember what happened in 2022.
In 2022, it was a while ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, there's been a bit's gone on since then.
Yeah, just in the last 24 hours.
Yeah.
So released those. So they were fantastic. Along the ZB line, we also have Murph and Stanaway's Boost wildcards.
Oh, great.
So both the car that actually raced.
Oh, and the one that didn't.
And then the one that didn't because of COVID, et cetera, et cetera. So both of those, all of those in 18th and 43rd scale.
Yeah.
So they're all available on our website now or at the nearest stockist. Something a little different, we released Tony D and Fabian Coulthard's Honda TCR cars.
Yes.
So something a little bit different from us. Again, not always supercar related.
I heard Tony was going to buy a model, but then he actually bought the real car. And now he has no more money for the models because he went and bought the car.
Yeah, well, he got a couple from me. He got a couple from me, so that's all right. So that's all right. And then in road car land, just over your right shoulder, other shoulder.
Oh, yeah.
Your other right.
Other right, yeah.
Oh, you'd think you drove race cars.
Yeah.
The Red Hot VE, released that one, and the Shadow Black Raptor.
Right.
Ford Raptor.
Yep.
So bit of four-wheel drive, bit of road car, bit of supercar, bit of TCR.
Bit of everything.
So a little bit of everything last month.
Yeah. We're not talking about the Gary Reid special over there.
Oh, the Gary Reid special as well.
Yeah.
Yes,
That's
absolutely.
the Gary Reid special. What a beauty.
Yeah, too right. So
He's
the
bringing
E30,
the if you want to bring the Bathurst, then you need one of
do.
those models.
And the C10 is coming soon. We've had that's a tricky thing to replicate, that C10.
Yep.
So the M3, it's not an M3, the E30.
Yep.
Was a much easier car to replicate. So it's here first.
Been for a ride in that C10. It's a pretty cool.
A bit of a beast, isn't it?
It's a pretty cool bit of kit.
Yeah.
Gary.
You could argue that we have already made the C10 because we do have the VE under there, and the C10 is basically a VE underneath.
There you go, giving away all of Gary's
Gary's
Showtime secrets.
Oh, everyone knows that, don't they? Awkward pause.
So. Yeah. So we'll move on to a segment here where we answer some questions from you, the listeners/viewers. They can be about collectibles or what's going on in the motor racing world or whatever you want. We'll pretty much take anything. So again, shoot your questions to collections@authenticcollectables.com.au, or if you're watching our very much made for radio heads on YouTube, throw your questions down in the comments and we'll cover the best ones off in the next ep. Will, you've surprised me here with some questions.
Yeah,
I have no idea what's coming here.
Got a couple of questions.
What have you got?
I mean, they are primarily model related, so you're safe.
Excellent.
So I mean, there were some comments too, just saying they got the two TCR cars and they were great and things like that. So thank you for those comments.
From T. D'Alberto in the eastern suburbs of
It wasn't actually from T. D'Alberto or F. Coulthard. So Jacob Lee asked, how's the process coming along with the Gen 3 cars?
Yep.
And reasonably well is the short answer. The long answer is once parity's sorted, well then maybe I'll finally be able to get sorted. So our Camaros, we've got some decorated samples. I'm not sure if we've got any behind us actually, but certainly online you can see some decorated samples of our Camaros. The Mustang won't be too far away from having some decorated samples as well.
I see one down there.
Yeah, there you go. So as I say, they're not too far away, but Mustang, obviously, there's a few more tooling changes that needed to be made between start of the season, Townsville edition, Gold Coast edition.
Serious question. Will
2024 edition.
Will you do different editions of these things?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So basically the way because we obviously got wind that there was going to be some little parity changes as the season went on. That was pretty obvious from the first test. We've kind of produced the car in a way that has given us some options in that space.
Gotcha.
So we can put a different front bar on it and it's not really a problem. We can put some different side skirts on it. It's not really a problem.
Yeah.
Rear wings, we're used to changing rear wings. We went through the process with the Gen 2 Mustang.
Yep.
So I think I've got about 4 of those.
Yeah, great.
Yeah. So you order your own rear wing. Yeah. So short answer, yes, it's coming along.
Yep.
We'll hopefully have our first production samples in the next few months. And then we'll be full steam ahead with our full production on all of our Gen 3 cars. So our next question comes from James Chapman. How many goes does it take to get a livery/model perfect so you can make an announcement? Quite a long time is the short answer. So we have various stages of how we sort of get from the announcement stage to the production stage. Announcement stage, we're not as concerned if we've got a little logo in the wrong spot or something a little tricky like that. Obviously, once we've got to the production stage, it has to be right. That's what we've built our business on. So yes, it does take us a few goes. Normally, we only need one decorated sample before we then go into full production. So it's sort of once we get to that decorated stage, we're normally pretty confident that we've got it right. Yeah. And then we roll into production. But as I say, announcements wise, we're a little looser on that, for want of a better term. Yep. I'd rather it was 100% right, but these teams keep changing liveries
Yep.
all the time. And they're never the same.
Yeah.
They're never the same as the artwork we get. They're never the same once they arrive on track. So so for 2024, for instance, we'll get all the livery files from the teams. In some instances, we'll just make them based on what we've seen.
Yeah.
So the Walkinshaw cars, for instance, they're not a massive departure
So
from last year.
You can start doing that
So we
now.
can start doing that now. We'll get the files from the team anyway, but we won't actually commit to production or any form of production, even the sampling stage, until we've actually got to Bathurst.
Yeah.
The car is the car.
Yeah.
The car is in pit lane. We photograph the living so-and-so out of it.
Yep.
And that's what we'll base the car off, the actual race or the actual model off. So, yes, it takes a while.
Sounds like it.
Yeah. We'll go through the process one day. We'll actually...
Yeah.
We'll we might get a camera up and show the process of what we do on track.
Yeah.
To actually get the photos we need, to get the files we need, to get the product into your hands.
Great. Any more questions?
No, that's it.
Okay, great. That's good. Any final
Short
thoughts?
but sweet.
Any final thoughts before we wrap up the first ever episode of Role Models?
Other than this beer is delicious.
It is, and it turns out it's a one stubby podcast, which is
Yeah, we might try and make it a 2 stubby podcast next time.
good idea. I feel like we should get a bit dirty for episode 2. Will, I'm just going to.
You talking about adult collectibles again?
I'm not.
Good.
But I'll just leave that there. So on that cryptic clue, this is Role Models, and we'll be back in a few weeks to talk collectibles once again.